Hey guys, it's Dylan here, and as I announced yesterday, I'm no longer working with TSM, so in the short term, this actually gives me a chance to bring back the LoLClash review and talk a little bit about strategy in League of Legends. It's been a pretty exciting couple of weeks. We have the NA playoffs, the EU playoffs, and the LPL playoffs currently going on. But the topic of this episode is actually going to be pretty specific. It's going to be primarily centered around Vayne and Vayne play in actually Laneswaps. Vayne has seen a huge resurgence right now in China. It was always a staple pick throughout the season, but was picked and banned in nearly every single game in the LPL playoffs so far. Part of it's due to the players and the relatively high skill cap of Vayne. We have players such as Uzi and Imp that are really famous for their Vayne play, but some of it is actually enabled by some of the lane swap strategies that these LPL teams are putting in place. So we're going to look at a couple common lane swap strategies we see in pro play today. We're going to look at a few examples of Vayne play from the LPL, and then we're going to take a look at what might happen if some of these Western lane swap strategies and these LPL lane swap strategies were to interact. Alright, so let's get right into it. We're going to start off with a lane swap strategy that most of the people watching this video are probably going to be pretty familiar with. And it's just the standard 3v0 or 4v0, depending on how it's executed, tower push that's seen a lot right now in the NA LCS and the EU LCS. The couple clips I'm showing now are from both the NA and EU LCS and just show what happens when both teams opt into the 3v0, 4v0 tower push. The execution of it is pretty simple. There's a lot of decisions such as what wave you're going to push on and whether you're going to have your jungler or your top laner helping to push the tower that just change where the resources go and the speed of the fast tower push. But the basics of it generally remain the same. Both teams are going to have multiple members of their teams aiming to push down the tower quickly and then bounce the wave so it's pushing back into them. This leaves a safe wave on either side of the map for them to send one of their laners to. Once again, after the towers are dead, there's a whole bunch of decisions to be made of where you're going to allocate your lanes. And I could probably make an entire video on just that alone, so that's not going to be the topic of this video. In China, however, fast tower pushes nowadays are rarely seen. There was a period in the middle of the LPL split where fast tower pushes were a lot common, but nowadays we see a lot more lane swaps such as this, where when one team is pushing the wave in a lane swap, the other team opts to catch the wave with their top laner and a support. Depending on the jungle pathing, this can leave your top and support duo open to tower dives, but most of the time it's just going to end in top and support against your enemy duo lane, and your AD soloing top against the enemy top laner. This isn't some crazy new lane swap strategy, or something that NA and EU teams are unaware of. It's seen used by multiple teams in NA and EU throughout the last couple weeks. It's just an alternative based on your champions and your overall early game strategy. And when I was putting research into Vayne play, I noticed that most of the successful Vayne teams were always starting off with a freeze in the top lane with their Vayne. What this freeze in the top lane does is it allows Vayne to safely hit 6 really fast. And Vayne at level 6 has one of the highest playmaking potential and forcing abilities of any AD carry. So let's take a look at Snake's play in this clip. Martin on Vayne goes back at level 5 and swaps back into the duo lane with Jenna. As soon as they do this, they immediately path their Rek'Sai towards the Vayne lane and get ready to make a play when Vayne hits level 6. As soon as Vayne hits level 6, Rek'Sai tunnels in and they start a fight. If Gragas isn't waiting in the bush here, this is going to be a free kill. However, Gragas was pretty smart in his counter ganking, so all they get is a lot of damage onto Braum. The next clip I have is a Vayne game played by OMG, which starts pretty similarly to the last game with Uzi freezing the top lane with Vayne. In this game, Uzi actually gets a slow push on his wave when he hits level 6. Instead of choosing to swap and path around the 3v3, Uzi starts a slow push and the entire team starts getting ready to deny the wave off the enemy tower. I thought this game was really cool because it illustrates the forcing power of Vayne at level 6, and also shows how this is only available to them because of their early game strategy. We're going to see here that Vayne hits level 6 while his support is still level 1. In addition to this, they have one of the best tower diving junglers in the game with Elise. So we can see how this is really calculated. Vayne Elise can dive towers in situations that not many other characters can. And because of this, we're going to see them pull off a pretty sick 3v2, or I guess 4v2, tower dive. So after looking into the Vayne play and overall Laneswap play into the LPL, I had a bunch of questions, like what would happen if NA teams would use their Laneswap strategies with Vayne, or what's going to happen if these strategies were to interact. And I was really excited when I saw this game, Vayne Gaming played against LGD in the LPL playoffs, because in a pretty rare occurrence, Vayne Gaming goes for a fast push strategy in China. And not only do they fast push, but they try it with Vayne. So I thought this game was actually a pretty cool case study on the way different Laneswap strategies look right now. And we're going to see how this turned out. In this game, LGD decides to freeze their bottom lane with Kalista and go for an early dragon. After LGD takes the dragon, Vayne Gaming's wave hits, and they choose to fast push the tower, presumably because they have Nunu. I'm guessing that's the logic. They bounce the wave and get ready to swap their duo lane back into their bot lane. Skipping ahead, we see the exact moment that Kalista gets back into lane with Vayne, and we see the exact same situation we saw in the last two clips, except reversed. Here, Kalista is now a level up on Vayne, with Janna only being at level 2, against a level 5 and a level 4 Vayne and Thresh. In addition to this is a lane matchup that I don't really think you want to be behind on. Kalista Janna versus Vayne has the ability to press this advantage pretty hard. So we can see some of the trade-offs of running the 4v0 versus the freeze strategy. Although Vayne Gaming does have a disadvantage in this lane, they also have the advantage of a top laner that's probably going to be a little bit ahead, and a very, very safe top lane, as the opponent top laner has no tower. They also have a slight global gold advantage from the tower that they killed. I also want to note that Vayne Gaming's tower push was a little less efficient, I think, than some of the strategies that I see NA and EU teams using. Most notably, Vayne Gaming killed the tower about a minute slower than most Western teams would. Regardless, LGD's advantage in both bot lane experience, matchup, and gold this game ended up being crucial. Later in the game, we see LGD bait out a fight in the bottom lane with their jungler and their TP, and they end up getting a kill in a tower, giving them a decent early game advantage. So that's all I have for this episode. I hope you guys found it interesting, even with such a specific topic. There's going to be a lot of really good League in the next few weeks, so I want to keep making these videos. So it would help if you guys could subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Twitter to help get my episodes out to more people.